Everyone's talking about AI changing the world, but the people actually changing it are too busy fixing the boring parts, because the future is not going to be built on prompts or viral demos. It's going to be built by the people that are rebuilding the systems the world already runs on. They're the ones that no one ever stops to think about. And right now, those quiet industries, they are begging for AI consultants who can help them run smarter. How do I know? Well, I've worked with businesses in most of these spaces, and I can tell you firsthand, they don't care about ChatGPT prompts. They care about solving expensive, boring problems that eat their time. So in this video, we're going to go through 5 industries where AI consultants and automation experts can realistically build successful practices without competing with the entire internet. And before we get in there, here's something that nobody talks about. 77% of US economy is not tech startups or crypto. It's boring service businesses that keep the world running. And inside of them, 40% of workers spend at least a quarter of their week doing manual, repetitive tasks, things that could already be automated with today's technology. Data entry, scheduling, customer calls. McKinsey estimates that up to 30% of all work hours could be automated by 2030, which is worth over $4 trillion in wages in the US alone. And globally, Goldman Sachs projects AI could touch nearly $7 trillion worth of labor. But there's a gap. Only 40% of small businesses are using AI at all. And for the most part, they use ChatGPT as a browser for search. Nobody's building specialized AI solutions for these boring, overlooked industries. That is where the real opportunity lies. And if you map today's AI wave onto the diffusion of innovations curve, you will see that we've already passed the innovator phase. The coders, the creators, the demo builders, and the data backs this up. You can see McKinsey reporting that 65% of organizations now use generative AI in some form, nearly double what it was just a year ago. And here's, I think, the more interesting part is that half of those uses are just off-the-shelf tools like Midjourney and ChatGPT. They're not embedded into real business systems yet. That's why I believe we're now entering the early majority stage, the part where millions of real-world businesses finally want to implement AI, not just experiment with it. I mean, look at the patterns from history. In the software boom of the 2000s, tools like Salesforce and Shopify and QuickBooks all scaled when ordinary businesses needed practical systems, not new code. We are basically in the exact point again. And I think Clay Christensen said this in The Innovator's Dilemma, that big players always chase the obvious markets. Enterprise contracts, broad horizontal products, billion user platforms. And I mean, that makes a lot of sense because that's basically why Google is focused on workspace AI and OpenAI on multi-model infrastructure. They will dominate the top layer, but they will ignore the bottom, the small, fragmented, boring sectors that make the 77% of US GDP and 40% of all businesses. Those are the industries that are still using Excel trackers and sticky notes and phone calls to write daily operations. That is truly the gap where consultants win by building niche AI systems that make these old workflows finally intelligent. Now, before we dive into the specific industries, let's make it practical, okay? Because anybody can list AI niches, but finding viable ones, the kind that pay and scale and stick, comes down to 3 things. You can call it the AIM test. I think it's gonna stick better this way. So A stands for automation potential. You want to look for industries where at least 30% of the daily work is repetitive. Calls, scheduling, data entry, reports, reminders. If you can watch someone's workflow for an hour and already see 3 things that AI could do faster, I think it passes the first test. Then you've got your I, which is industry fragmentation. The next filter is basically about the market shape. If no single company owns more than a few percent of the space of the market, you're looking at a fragmented market, which means that thousands of small players, there's no dominant software, and there's huge room for custom solutions. Now, the M stands for market stickiness. So you want to look for recurring pain. If the same process repeats every week, invoicing, maintenance, onboarding, then automation there becomes a subscription opportunity, not a one-off project. And that's how consultants can turn workflows into long-term retainers. Every industry that we will cover in the next part of the video has already passed all these 3 tests. They are repetitive enough to automate, they're fragmented enough to enter, and they're sticky enough to build real businesses around. Okay, so let's start with the first one, the frontline layer of the economy, where every missed call is equal to lost money. These are your HVAC, plumbing, pest control companies. I mean, they're the people keeping homes running, right? The plumbers, the HVAC technicians. And the market opportunity is clear. There are over 3.2 million service contractors in the US alone. and they're generating more than $700 billion in annual revenue, according to IBISWorld 2024. But the truth is that most of them still run their business out of text messages and whiteboards and Excel. And I think a 2024 Jobber study found that 43% of home service owners said their biggest challenge is not demand. It's managing calls and quotes and scheduling while they're out on the job. Every missed call can mean a lost client. And I mean, these small inefficiencies can drain a lot of money from the industry every year. How do you win quickly? Because you need to look for those easy, quick wins, right? That is where your first AI layer needs to come in. And you don't need to reinvent anything with these type of companies. You just need to automate the work that nobody wants to do. You can start with an AI receptionist that answers missed calls and books appointments and syncs them to a Google Calendar. You can have a very simple quote generator that replies to new inquiries with estimated pricing and follow-up reminders. Or if you want to get fancy, you could have a voice agent that filters emergency calls versus routine ones and notifies the right technician. And you can use NA10 and VAPI and Twilio and ChatGPT. You can build an entire system in maybe a week. If you're not experienced, maybe a bit more than that. But it can save a company 10, 15 hours pretty quickly. And those become 15 hours of billable work. And once you've automated the front desk, then you can start connecting the rest of their workflow, like invoicing and dispatching and parts tracking and customer reviews. And that's how you move from automation projects to building the AI operating system for field services, which can become a single dashboard that handles everything from booking to billing. Now, I don't know if you understand, but the moment that one company gets results, you can replicate that system across hundreds of similar firms, each with, personalized but almost identical workflows and pain points. So why do you want to do this? Well, this industry clearly passes the AIM test perfectly. It's highly automatable with calls and quotes and reports. It's deeply fragmented. There are millions of small firms. There's no dominant player. And it's extremely sticky because these businesses run on recurring maintenance. So you're not selling AI, you are solving missed calls and slow follow-ups and weekend admin work. So you are basically doing something that makes you indispensable. It makes you irreplaceable. Now, if you're watching this because you want to work in these AI-powered industries, here's something that will really help you build the foundation for that. There's a program from Vanderbilt University on Coursera that is called Agentic AI and AI Agents for Leaders. It is actually led by Dr. Jules White, who is one of the most respected voices on how to actually design and deploy AI agents inside organizations. It's a program that's structured as a short 3-course specialization, but it depends what you define short as. It takes about 30 hours to go through, but essentially you're not committing to a long-term degree. And over these 30 hours, you go through an entire progression, from understanding what agentic AI really means to actually building custom GPT-based assistants that automate tasks or support decisions in a business. It is not extremely technical because that's not what you need as an AI consultant. And the first course is a primer on agentic AI and how these systems think and act and fit into real workflows. Then the second part is about creating your own custom AI assistants, which is where you get the hands-on experience and you will design simple but super powerful and functional agents. You can connect them to tools through APIs. You can see how to keep a human in the loop for safety and quality. And then the third one is about prompt engineering for ChatGPT, which focuses clearly on communication and how to frame instructions and how to reason through outputs and how to design conversations that actually deliver the value to your clients. And by the end, you will have built several small agent projects that you can show to potential clients as part of your portfolio. And not only that, but you will also earn a career certificate from Vanderbilt that you can add to your LinkedIn or your portfolio. So for anyone planning to consult in the niches that I'm talking about today, these are the exact skills that you will need. Understanding processes, mapping tasks, translating them into working AI automations. And if you want to follow a structured learning path rather than piecing it together from random tutorials on YouTube, this is one of the most focused programs out there. And right now, actually, Coursera is offering 40% off the Coursera Plus annual plan until December 1st, which includes access to this specialization and over 10,000 other courses. I'm going to make sure to leave the link below so you can explore it in your own time. And thank you, Coursera, for trusting us once again and partnering with us on today's video. Okay, now let's move from homes to buildings. And let's look at another industry that is drowning in repetitive communication. So niche number 2 is property management. This is for you, Dennis. So if there's one industry that never sleeps, is property management, because tenants do not wait for office hours to have problems. And that constant stream of requests and messages and payments is exactly what makes this niche perfect for automation. So let's look at the data. Okay, the US property management industry oversees 48 million rental units, and it generates over $88 billion in annual revenue. There are roughly 310,000 small and medium-sized management firms, most juggling hundreds of tenants, contractors, owners, often through email chains and spreadsheets. And according to Buildium's 2023 Property Management Industry Report, 57% of property managers said that their biggest challenge is just keeping up with communication. And 42% admitted that they still rely on manual data entry and paper-based processes, which is unreal. That is basically thousands of hours lost each year to scheduling repairs, sending reminders, chasing rent payments. And I mean, there are so many quick wins here. This industry screams for simple, high-impact AI workflows. And you can start with as easy as building a tenant help desk bot that categorizes incoming maintenance requests into urgent, not urgent, billing, and then sends updates automatically. You can also think about automating rent reminders and late notices and lease renewal alerts through email or WhatsApp or Telegram, or routing true emergencies to on-call staff while logging everything else for the next morning. I mean, there's so much opportunity that you can think of here, and all of this can be built with OpenAI and Airtable or Notion, and probably with Make as well, but NA10 is the one that we use, and instantly replace hours of repetitive admin per week. And then once communication and maintenance workflows are automated, there is a whole new world that you can look into. You can layer on a lot more strategic systems. You can have AI dashboards that predict which tenant is more likely to churn, or forecasting tools that track maintenance costs, or chat-based investor updates that summarize each property's status. I mean, at scale, this can become a property management operating system, you know? It can be a system that runs the daily operations of entire portfolios automatically. And sure, it is about time saving, but it's so much more than this, because it becomes an intelligence layer that helps owners grow their business. Does it pass the AIM test? Flawlessly. Does it have automation potential? Endless. Communication and scheduling are rule-based. Industry fragmentation, I think that's high. Tens of thousands of local firms and non-dominant or few dominant. Market stickiness, I mean, I think it's off the charts, because rent cycles and maintenance happen every month. So these companies do not need another CRM. They just need systems that answer calls and track issues and keep tenants happy while they sleep. And that is where AI consultants can win nicely by helping businesses automate. Now, let's move on and let's step onto the construction side, where automation finally breaks through the paperwork that has been slowing projects down for decades. So niche number 3 is construction and contracting. I mean, if there's one industry that proves time really is money, that has to be construction, because every delay, every misquote, every missed signature costs someone lots of money. And under all that heavy machinery lies an even heavier problem: paperwork. I mean, the data shows it so clearly. The US construction industry generates over $2.3 trillion a year and employs nearly 8 million workers across more than 700,000 companies, according to US Census Bureau 2024. But for an industry that builds our skylines, I think it's shockingly manual behind the scenes. There was this study from Autodesk and FMI in 2023 that found that 35% of project time is spent on non-productive activities. That's a quarter that's spent on reworking and searching for project data or managing change orders. And they also found that 28% of contractors still rely primarily on paper-based workflows, which essentially means that tens of billions of dollars are lost each year to miscommunication and slow documentation. I mean, that's inefficiency that AI can directly address, you know? And the quick wins for me are pretty obvious. The first win would be pretty simple and measurable. You can start with bid automation, one of the biggest time drains in contracting. And you can use AI to extract key details from client emails or blueprints. You can autofill proposal templates. You can generate accurate cost estimates instantly using historical data and some knowledge from the company. There are lots of other automations, like summarizing daily site reports or safety checklists, or auto-generating invoices when milestones are reached, or tracking material deliveries and flagging delays automatically using tools like NA10 and Notion and ChatGPT. And through that work, you can replace hours of admin with a few simple, smart workflows that turn that slow paperwork into a competitive advantage. And then once you've automated the quotes and the admin, you can move up the stack into forecasting and project intelligence. I mean, you can imagine a system that analyzes all projects in the past and can predict which bids are more profitable, or can automatically flag when costs are trending above baseline. I mean, that's a clear way, in my opinion, that you can evolve from an automation builder to an AI project partner. And you can build this construction operating system, which could be a vertical AI platform that links field data and scheduling and inventory and finance into one predictive dashboard for contractors and for developers. I mean, does it meet the AIM test? I think with flying colors. Does it have automation potential? Off the charts. Estimates, invoicing, reporting, safety logs, they're all rule-based. Industry fragmentation, I think, is pretty clear. There are hundreds of thousands of firms, each managing their own projects and vendors. Market stickiness, I think, is high. Every project brings repeat documentation, compliance checks, bid cycles. And unlike tech startups, contractors don't want innovation. They just want fewer headaches. So if you can save them even 1 day per week in admin, you will have long-term clients. But the back office still holds one of the biggest untouched opportunities of all, where repetitive precision meets AI reasoning. And this is our next niche. So if there is one function that defines boring but critical, I think that's accounting. And I can say that because I studied to be one. Every business needs it, but very few people enjoy doing it. And that combination, high repetition with low excitement and zero tolerance for error, makes it one of the most powerful playgrounds for AI. And actually, within our founders community, many people are looking into doing exactly this. The global accounting services market is worth $675 billion in 2024 and is projected to reach, by 2028, $850 billion, according to Statista. In the US alone, there are over 1.4 million accounting and bookkeeping firms, most of them small practices that are handling a dozen or a couple dozen clients manually, according to IBISWorld. Now, a recent Sage report found that 43% of accountants spend more than 1/3 of their week on repetitive data entry and reconciliations. And nearly 60% believe automation is going to improve job satisfaction and accuracy. I mean, that is not a threat. I think that is a roadmap. So you want to start with the tasks that eat the most time and require the least creativity. Things like auto-categorizing and reconciling transactions by learning from historical data in, Xero or QuickBooks. You can use AI to summarize financial statements and detect anomalies or flag missed invoices. You can generate monthly client summaries with visual highlights, all automated for accounting software exports. You can build simple agents that reconcile data between payment processors and CRMs and bank statements. These automations are going to restore accountants to higher value work, like strategy, like forecasting, like advising clients. And because accounting follows clear rules and formats, AI accuracy is going to improve fast with every iteration. Now, obviously, once basic bookkeeping flows are automated, the next frontier is going to be the real-time financial intelligence, where consultants can build dashboards that forecast cash flow and simulate tax outcomes and things like that. But you don't have to think about that just now. Of course, you can imagine a small business that used to close its books monthly and now sees daily financial health in one click. But as I said, you don't have to scale to an entire financial OS for SMBs before you automate the busy and repetitive, simple work. Does it pass the AIM test? In every dimension. Does it have automation potential? I think enormous. There's repetitive, rule-based, data-driven actions every single day. There is clear industry fragmentation, over 1 million small firms and freelancers in the US alone. And does it have market stickiness? Clearly. Monthly closing, recurring clients, never-ending compliance. And the best part is that, unlike marketing, accounting is mandatory. When you make something that's required faster and cheaper, adoption is inevitable. And that same logic, repetitive, document-heavy, and risk-sensitive, is exactly why our final niche is what's coming next. We're going to talk about legal contract review. I mean, do I need to explain myself? Every company runs on contracts, okay? And every contract hides risks and obligations and hours of human reading. And law may feel like the last frontier for automation, but AI is already reshaping how legal work gets done. You can clearly see that in the data. The global legal services market surpasses $900 billion in 2024 and is projected to cross, by 2027, $1 trillion, according to Statista. Yet, only 11% of firms report using AI in daily operations, according to Thomson Reuters' legal tech report. Now, contract review alone is something that eats roughly 45% of junior lawyer time, according to LawGeek's benchmark 2023, with most small and mid-sized firms still relying on manual comparison and redlining, which is mind-blowing to me. That's thousands of billable hours that are spent scanning for the same clauses over and over. As I said, mind-blowing. So you can start with the tasks that demand accuracy but not interpretation. Things like clause extraction and summarization, where you can flag the change of control or payment or liability terms automatically. You can look into renewal and deadline tracking to auto-populate calendars and send alerts. You can look into risk classification and color code things, or you can look into creating client-friendly summaries like one-page plain English or language overviews that are generated from the full agreement. You can build these using OpenAI or Google Drive or Notion, and it's going to save hundreds of review hours per month to these firms without touching legal judgment. And then, once the firms trust AI for contract triage, you can move upstream into document intelligence. And there is a lot of fun things you can do there, like connecting case management and billing and client CRM into a single legal command center, or training niche-specific agents like real estate law and IP licensing and M&A due diligence. And then you can offer AI dashboards that surface patterns across thousands of agreements, like recurring risks or vendor trends or negotiation bottlenecks. That is how contract automation can evolve and become a legal operating system. And clearly, this one also passes the AIM test beautifully, because there is clear automation potential with high structured text and rule-based repetitive review cycles. There is industry fragmentation, maybe not the same as before, but there are millions of solo practitioners and boutique firms. Does it have stickiness? Clearly. Contracts renew, disputes repeat, compliance never stops. And AI can replace a lot of inefficiency there. It can turn human expertise into something exponentially scalable. And I think for consultants, this is, premium real estate or territory, because it's high trust, it's measurable ROI, clients who value accuracy over everything else. And when you look across these 5 industries, from home services to legal, I think one thing becomes clear. AI is not just eating code or content, it is quietly rebuilding the infrastructure of work itself. These industries, I think they don't need more theory. I think it's clear that they don't need more theory. They just need systems that work consistently in the real world. And the way you build them is through what I call the implementation ladder. So you would look into the following 4 phases: implement, instrument, iterate, and install. It's how every successful AI consultant climbs from first client project to indispensable business partner. The first step, implement, is where you start where the pain is obvious, right? So you don't build fancy tools, but you solve the most painful, repetitive bottleneck first. And for HVAC companies, that might be missed calls. But for an accountant, that might be manual reconciliation. And for a property manager, that could be a tenant request pile that they need to handle. You are not automating a business. You're relieving a daily frustration that is costing money right now. And you do it with what you already know, whether that's Zapier or Make or Notion, ChatGPT, it's up to you. But you need to find something that is fast, simple, and visible. That first win earns trust and data. And then from there, you can instrument. That's where you measure the impact. Because once it works, you need to start tracking. How many calls answered automatically? How many hours were saved? How many invoices now go out on time? And this step is going to turn a fancy or cool automation into proof of value. You can add dashboards, reports, notifications that show results in real numbers, because clients, they don't renew feelings. They renew outcomes, results, things that they can see and measure. Okay. And then from there, you can iterate. You can refine until it becomes reliable. This is where amateurs get stuck and professionals get started. You watch how humans interact with the system, what still breaks, what gets ignored, and then you can tighten it. You can make it better. You can add fallbacks. You can add better prompts. You can add cleaner data handling. And you can replace quick hacks with stable logic. And that's where iteration is how your solution moves from an experiment to a business critical workflow. And then last, you install, you turn it into infrastructure. That's when it becomes stable and measurable. That's where you install it as a managed service, as a dashboard, as a mini SaaS. It depends how you want to design your business model. But that's where you own the upkeep and you handle improvements. That's the moment that your client starts seeing you no longer as a freelancer, but more as part of their infrastructure stack. That's the ladder. I think it's pretty straightforward. Implement, instrument, iterate, and install. And when you have the 4 eyes, every AI system that actually works, you'll see follows this sequence from the first automation to the enterprise-grade platform. And when you climb it once, you can replicate it across hundreds of clients and industries. Trust me. You can turn consulting into a business that scales itself. Look, we're at the moment in every revolution where technology needs translators more than pioneers. The innovators have already built the tools. Now, early adopters and early majority, the rest of the world, they need people who can make them work. Crossing that gap is the opportunity of this decade, or at least the coming few years. And if you won't belong to developers or executives, it'll belong to consultants, the ones who build bridges between possibility and proof. So pick one niche, run the checklist, implement one automation this week, because by the time the rest of the world starts talking about these opportunities, you will already be the one designing what replaces them. And if you want to learn even more specifically, step by step, how to become an AI consultant, make sure you go ahead and watch this video over here. It is a masterclass where I share everything you need to know in order to get started with your AI business consulting agency. Thank you so much for watching this video. I am genuinely grateful for you taking the time. I know everyone's time is valuable, so thank you for giving us your time. Like this video if you did, be sure to subscribe if you haven't done so. Share it with anyone in your circle of friends or family who you think needs to learn about these niches. And also, if you want to apply anything that you've learned in this video or in any other videos that you might have watched on this channel, then make sure to come and join us in our free community. I promise you, everything is free in there. You get to go through challenges. There's tons of them at this point already. We have calls every 2 weeks. You get to ask your questions. And more importantly, you get to be surrounded by so many other people who are on the exact same path as you are. So thank you so much again, and I hope to see you in the community. Bye.